Basically, I broke the route, and I kind of seen that I had an advantage on him on the outside. So I just looked, drew past it, touchdown.
So what's your opinion now on varsity football? It's pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
Who's your dude? And our dude was going against their dude, and it was great to see.
They're going to come in with revenge mentality, wanted to come after us, hurt us, and win the game. But we rose to the top, and I'm really proud of our team.
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Beat Grinder, your weekly dose of high school football in Connecticut. And I'm your host, Sean Patrick Bowley. With me, as always, is PD Page Views, Pete Paguaga. Peter, how you doing?
Good. Still drying out, still thawing out from this weekend of rain and thunder and lightning. And yeah, my shoes are still soaked. I don't know what to do. It was a rough, dude, straight up, Friday night. It rained when I was driving to Staples. Then I got on the sideline, obviously still a little wet. Then I stepped in vomit on the sideline. It was like a hot, humid day. A kid, someone got sick on the sideline. I wasn't paying attention, stepped right in it. It was not a great day.
It was a wild week one, and that's just a little taste of the goings on and the craziness that Pete and I and a lot of our reporters at Hearst Connecticut Media went through. I can only imagine what some of the players went through. We got a lot of we heard a lot of stories from across the state. I mean, just New Fairfield alone reported that they were on a bus for over 7.5 hours this whole entire weekend, getting their game with Wyndham postponed several times, coming back and then playing not a play and then coming back again. Week one, it was the craziest week one, Pete, that I have seen in my quarter century covering high school football in Connecticut. I think the only thing that comes close is 2010. I just remember when I was running around, I must have shot like 7 or so games over the course of 3 or 4 days. There was a lot of rain, but nothing like this where the team just can't get it in. I mean, when you look at the final tally, and I don't even know if this is accurate, it was the best we could do. But first of all, we had 16 games on Thursday night, and that only got bumped down to like 5. They went to Friday or Saturday. And now the Friday games that were scheduled, 17, Pete, got postponed at some point or another. And some of them didn't even finish. Some of them went to Saturday, couldn't finish. Or this couple went to Sunday, couldn't finish. Or even Monday, we just heard Rocky Hill. Who is this? Rocky Hill and
Platt couldn't finish. There's another. I'm looking at my window. There's another storm rolling through.
It is unbelievable. Just a lot of like late season heat, thunderstorms, fronts moving through, and it's for whatever reason, it's still not cool. We still haven't even hit that. It was just blisteringly hot out there. Lots of games that we went to, it was just crazy. And there's not a whole lot I can say about it, but we're still having a lot of schedule snafus and games that are getting pushed into October for bye weeks, and lots of teams scrambling, lots of coaches getting a little ticked off about their situation. So an inauspicious start to the week one season, Pete, but somehow, some way, we got a lot accomplished. At least as far as the top 10 is concerned. I mean, it started with Holy Cross Woodland getting postponed. Then the next night, like you said, you were going to West Haven. It was pouring on my way to Shelton, just buckets coming down on the Parkway going to Shelton. Games got pushed back. Poor Hamden and Trumbull sitting in Hamden. They might as well have started to go to school there. I mean, jeez, they were there for like 8 hours. They got there late afternoon, and they didn't leave until about 11 o'clock or midnight by that time.
Well, you can only go there. You have to change your address though. We also learned that last week.
Well, we got a lot to talk about on this show. I mean, again, it all started actually on we know about the Masuk situation. They were heading up to Killingly. Still no word on Steve Christie and assistant coach Eric Giordano. Both are still in limbo. They haven't even been able to coach for the entire season so far. But Masuk was able to go up there and take care of business against a team Killingly that has Soren Reef and pretty dangerous. But a mission statement right off the bat. Masuk defeating Killingly 43-20, and here's Jason Champagne talking about who went off, had a touchdown reception, a touchdown run, and then he had a a second half kickoff. He returned 82 yards for a score. So here's Jason Champagne talking about, they had a great start. Could be a special season, but they're not whole without their two coaches. Here's Jason.
It's definitely tough, but Halpin's a great coach, whether he's interim head coach or full head coach, but we're not a full team without our coach, Coach Christie and Coach Eric Giordano. We're not fully Masuk yet.
The other big news came about literally, Pete, just hours before we were all heading out to our games. Word came down that North Haven was going to forfeit its week 1 game versus Darien at Vanacore Field. Everybody was excited. Vanacore Field is about to get set up. And then next thing you know, word comes down that North Haven was going to have to suspend that game, actually forfeit that game. And their game for this week right now, we're recording this on Monday afternoon. Right now, they're going to play it. It's scheduled, but still, we don't quite know what the situation is there. But according to the superintendent, Patrick Stirk, who sent out a statement to the community and the parents of students in the schools saying, quote, based on serious concerns that came to our attention at the end of the school day, North Haven High School will forfeit tonight's varsity football game versus Darien High School. At this time, the district is conducting an investigation concerning allegations of inappropriate student conduct. We take allegations of this nature very seriously and hold our student athletes to high standards. If such conduct is substantiated, the district will take further action as it deems appropriate. That was on Friday late in announcing that North Haven was going to forfeit the game. In fact, new Darien coach Andy Grant said he only learned it about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon when Tony Sagnella called him. We briefly talked to Tony, Mike Fornabao did, and he basically said the same thing that his superintendent did. We tried to reach out to them to see what progress there was. We didn't hear anything back from anybody in North Haven. It's a matter of this where everybody's prepared. You got the bands, you got the parents, you got the boosters. Everybody's excited to have their first game. It has to be a serious, serious issue that they have potentially uncovered to take this type of a step. Okay, it's Tuesday, just before 6 o'clock. We got a late breaking update on this North Haven story, and the bottom line is game on. So that is good news for this Saturday for Sheehan. The Nighthawks will be playing. Apparently, they have not practiced the last 2 days. So that's Monday and Tuesday. I did not see them out there when I went by the school today, but apparently they are on tomorrow. Coach Tony Sagnola has confirmed that they are on, and that is all he's saying about the matter. Here is the statement that just came out from the superintendent of schools, Patrick Stirk. The North Haven Public Schools learned recently of an incident involving some of our student athletes. As a school district, we do not and will not tolerate harassment or any other inappropriate conduct toward any of our students. When we became aware of Friday's claim that harassment or other inappropriate conduct may have occurred, we investigated the claim immediately, properly, and thoroughly. The district also reported the incident to the North Haven Police Department and the Department of Children and Families. In each situation, our goal is to provide for the well-being of all our students, to educate students about appropriate and respectful behaviors, and to prevent any recurrence of inappropriate conduct. As a result of federal laws regarding student confidentiality, I cannot comment on any individual student or case, as we are obligated to maintain the confidentiality of all information regarding any particular student. However, when we find after an investigation that any student has in fact been harassed or has been treated inappropriately in any other way, we take appropriate action to address the matter, including disciplining those individuals deemed responsible for such conduct. At this time, the North Haven High School football team will resume their season effective tomorrow, 9/13/23. North Haven community members should be reassured that the safety of our children is the district's foremost concern, and there are many policies and procedures in place to ensure the well-being of our children. So there you have it. Superintendent of Schools Patrick Stirk has said, he's alluded to the fact that they did an investigation and they might have possibly disciplined some students or somebody, whoever had engaged in said inappropriate conduct or harassment. That seems to be what has happened here. But enough of a case has been made to allow the team to continue the football season this Saturday at Sheehan. So that's great for anybody who might not have been involved. And of course, it's great for Coach Tony Sagnella and the rest of his coaching staff and a lot of their players. So good news for North Haven. They get to have a season. Obviously there are going to be a lot of questions swirling about what exactly this was. A lot of questions to be answered still, not just from us, but like from their community as well. And then maybe some of the kids at school, however something happened, maybe under their watch. So, but listen, we can't speculate too much about what happened other than, what the superintendent says. He doesn't say much, but he does allude to some facts here going forward. So we'll see what the future holds, but and how this affects everybody going forward. But that is the case here. A tense weekend and a few days here for the North Haven football team. 0-1 going to Sheehan. So there you go. All right, back to our regularly scheduled podcast. Despite all that, despite all the postponements, which it's starting to get a little crazy out there because a lot of these teams they were running out of time to postpone their games to because this week is the Rosh Hashanah holiday. So a lot of teams are supposed to go Thursday. Not a lot going Friday and even Saturday. So they're looking to push these games. Like we're already starting to see a lot of these games going late in the year. I really feel bad for Granby, Canton, and Rockville seems to be the really most egregious one. They got postponed, Pete, 3 times, and especially twice in one day. And now they're looking like they're going to have to go to a bye in mid-October or thereabouts. We know Eric wanted to play. We know Granby's on to Valley this week. And so that was a really tough one. There are a couple teams that still haven't completed. Derby St. Paul, Crack SMSA, Middletown Connor has got pushed to
Stafford Ellington.
Yeah, Stafford Ellington, New Fairfield Wyndham. We talked about that one. That's another one that's going to have to get pushed. So, but despite all that, we did get a lot in for the top 10 poll. It all kind of started Friday night. Finally, you went to West Haven. West Haven, Pete, with their new back, Cameron Kemp. That was what all the buzz was about heading into the week before all the other craziness happened. And, you're talking about a West Haven team that their coach, Rich Boucher, he diagnosed with cancer, really struggled last year. This year, cancer-free. They got more good news when Cameron Kemp moved to town. And then they went down to the belly of the beast in the Fairfield County and well, what can you say? What happened there? We sung Staples' praises. Number 8 ranked, Caleb Smith, the whole bit. And West Haven, Pete, blew their doors off. Probably one of the most shocking scores of the night.
Regardless what the box score tells you, it was a thumping. West Haven was just hands down the better team. Staples really couldn't get anything going offensively. Caleb Smith is a real good player. Those wide receivers need to grow up with experience fast. 3 balls in the first half. He had to pass the West Haven defense off the fingertips or they couldn't get to it. And they were really well thrown balls. Caleb seemed like he was trying to do way too much because he had to. And let me tell you this. We talk about his arm strength and the way he can throw the ball. This kid can run, too. I feel like people forget how good of a runner he is. He did a lot of damage with his legs, but at the end of the day, West Haven has the playmakers. Kemp, Armani Reed, Demeco Edie, Aiden Coe, and then obviously Nick Conlon, the quarterback. They have playmakers all over the field, and Staples just could not match up. And look, West Haven struggled with cramps. There were 2-3 guys down on certain plays in the second half. Whoever, those kids came off, the new kids came on. They were fast. They hit hard. They never quit. It was a clinic West Haven put on in that game. It was really impressive to see.
But West Haven with a mission statement. And afterwards, you saw Richie Boucher even shake a little dance there. Pete captured him, going a little nuts. But like you said, Aiden Coe had what was that, a back-breaking, well, how long was that?
70-yard pick six. And then on the next drive, Staples goes all the way down the field. And Armani Reed picks it off at the 1, goes 99 yards, gets called back for a penalty. West Haven just ran out the clock and took a safety in the back of the end zone to really end it. But, you're 1 penalty away from, it being 40-21. It was – don't let the box score fool you. That's all I'll say.
Armani Reed had 5 catches for 118 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, a 2-point conversion catch, and an interception. 33 23, like you said, not even that close. The Westies off to a roaring start. So look out, folks. They are coming. They were chirping at us about about not being picked. Everyone picked against the Pete. And,
that's what I said. We voted before we knew Cameron would be playing at West Haven. That would have changed certain people's votes.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Another one that was kind of interesting was the one I went to was at Shelton. I thought the Gales were going to be very good. In fact, I think I might have picked them to win the state championship in L on at least George's show, or maybe did I say for us? I don't even remember.
I think you said for us, yeah.
But, I like Shelton. I like Shelton to win a state championship. I can't believe I just said that. I'm just going to throw that out there. Why not? Yeah, for us too. I thought they were great, and then I got a text message from the Shelton guys going, "Oh man, I hope you're right. Don't be the kiss of death." But from the outset, Shelton making his presence felt early when Tinney, the senior, taking the opening kickoff and racing away for a Gales touchdown. He had a second touchdown wiped out because of a penalty, but the tone was set, and the Gales built a 19-0 lead into the second. New Canaan, meanwhile, picking up right where it left off, offensively at least. Last year's championship team struggling. Couldn't score twice in Shelton's end, and having all sorts of other issues. That is until Alex Benevento showed up. New Canaan senior, who missed all of last year with a broken arm, came back with a vengeance. He went toe-to-toe with Tinney in an epic battle of all-state caliber talents. Can you top this? He denied Tinney at least 3 sure touchdowns and then did some damage himself. He catches a short TD pass for a touchdown to give New Canaan its first score of the game, and later, after Shelton made it a 3-score game again, sparked the comeback with his own kickoff return touchdown. He even picked off a pass intended for Tinney in the end zone to deny him. New Canaan later had a short field after a shank punt and scored on Mike Smith's 9-yard touchdown run to make it a 3-point game. And they even got the ball back with 2.5 minutes left to pull this thing out. I mean, they were falling asleep, Pete. But Tinney gets the last laugh on the double pass, comes out of nowhere, and just tips a sure TD pass away from Benevento to all but seal it. And it took a little while to get going, but man, not a bad preview if this is going to be for the state championship in 3 months. Tinney is great, but even he was impressed with Benevento after the game. Lots and love and respect.
Me and him, I didn't know him until today, but he's a cool guy, so me and him like to battle. We were like, let's keep going at it. It's fun.
I mean, it was great. That's what you see in high school. High school, who's your dude, and our dude was going against their dude, and it was great to see because they're 2 great kids. They're 2 very athletic kids, and probably be seeing more of them, both of them, in the near future.
Afterwards, just like Lou Marinelli said, losses, you're not as bad as you are, you're not as good as you are, but they don't have Groff anymore. It's a sure kicker. I mean, their kicker is pretty good, but he missed his only attempt of the game. And then if it wasn't for Benevento, man, New Canaan, the number 2 ranked New Canaan Ram, they would have been in big trouble. I think they're going to be okay with as long as he's on the field for now, at least, because he put on a great performance in that victory. So number 2 New Canaan goes down. And then the other game we saw this weekend, Pete, was number 1 Greenwich. In their title defense, they have to play the team that is hoping to finally get over the hump in Class Double L, all the way down there at Cardinal Stadium. The Cards come out fired up. And special teams, Pete, ruled the day for the number 1 Cards, who lots of new faces, a lot of new characters, different team, new quarterback, but kind of the same result for the number 1 team in the state.
Yeah, special teams ruled the day, but also almost ruined the day for them. I know Anthony, Coach Morello was not super thrilled because, despite having some great returns, they also let up a big return that let Fairfield Prep, after they scored a touchdown, Prep takes it down to the 2. So I think, Greenwich got a lot to clean up. We saw this last year from them, right? We saw the slow starts last year for them. They were able to weather it. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. Huge fan of Rocco Grillo. Huge fan. I think he had the headband on after the game in the interview, little Jimmy McMahon. He walked with some swag. I liked it. And you could tell at the beginning of that game, he looked a little uncomfortable. right? First varsity start. He's a senior. Didn't really see a lot of time the last 2 years with Jack Wilson there. And Rocco Grillo has a new fan in me. I think he's great. I think he's going to have a monster year. George Von Vlaakis being the lead guy after splitting last year. He ran with purpose. They got a lot of guys. Brendan Augusti. Brandon August. I loved him. I said to you, who's number 7? All about him. Then he took the kick back to the house. Ian Kim with the blocked punt. There were so many guys on this field. One guy we absolutely have to talk about is John Insigne. I can't say it right.
Insinga.
John Insigne, who
let me let John Insinga tell you how to pronounce his name, Pete.
Here, Pete had a question for you, but I'll ask you. How do you pronounce your last name?
Insinga.
Insinga.
Yeah.
John was a stud last year and maybe got overlooked a little bit because of how good that team was and all the guys that he had around on the field. But let me tell you, you could not look at that film and not notice number 4. I mean, Mike Fornabayo had him for 5 tackles for a loss. That's just Mike watching the game, obviously, not breaking down film. I would love to see what the actual number was because he was everywhere. Greenwich, they have a lot to figure out. They have a lot to get better at, but I feel very confident in my number 1 vote.
Yeah, me too. Listen, Fairfield Prep hung around. They could have easily fell asleep. It looked like New Canaan was going to fall asleep. Same thing with Fairfield Prep. Yeah, they just could not get something going. But finally, they get the touchdown together within a score. They were within a score late. Just special teams, like you said, and then Greenwich finally able to get the big turnover right there at the end. Who is that guy? What's his name? Shoot.
Oh, Sebastian Parra with the fumble.
Yeah, Sebastian Parra just rips the ball loose from Finbar Malloy or whoever that was. And to seal the victory there, they were able to kind of get that going. So the Greenwich Cardinals come away 35-21. A great present for their head coach who just had his child, and that would be Bo Morello. And a big congratulations to him and his wife and his family. And you said he was preparing for this game with his new son on his shoulder, or underneath his arm, not his shoulder yet. But congratulations, Coach. Maybe it's going to be a good luck charm for them. But Pete, let's take a look at the. It was a very interesting. So this was the first week of the Alliance. Al Carbone's baby, and it was very interesting when the returns were coming in on Friday night. You're like, man, the SCC is on the warpath. They were just winning all the big games. I mean, obviously, we talk about Shelton, and we talked about West Haven. I mean, then you had Matt Jeffrey and Cheshire just blowing the doors off Ridgefield. I mean, you name it. There were a lot of big SCC wins, and then Hamden. We'll talk about them a little bit later, but Hamden coming with the big victory over Trumbull, who I'd voted number 3 in my poll. I mean, Kemp, who for Hamden? Oh, jeez, running up 350 yards of offense. Beating Trumbull. So in overtime, they needed overtime to win that one. So let's take a look at the Alliance scoreboard. As I said, it was great for the SEC, but when you look at the overall, not as great. The teams on the lower levels didn't quite come through, but at least the SEC can say that they had the big wins of the night. Certainly the big top 10 wins. We'll look at that in just a minute. But here it is. The SWC 9-2 overall. I mean, that was led by Barlow beating Law in a pretty great game. Let's be honest, 21-17. The post-Danny Shaban era gets underway in a great way. But the SWC 9-2, and Benell beating Hand 28-21. That was a kind of an eye-opener. So the SWC, man, of all the teams, had a great night or a great weekend. They're followed by the ECC, actually going 500. I mean, their games weren't as big, but 7-6 against their opponents. The FCIAC, despite their troubles against the SEC, and let's be honest, they had their work cut out for them. 8-8. The SEC finishes, like we said, 6-7, but they did have the marquee ones. And then you go down the CTC. Not a bad week, Pete, for the CTC. You had Northwest United knocking off East Lyme. Now, that's a pretty big one. And then if Platt Tech beating Bridgeport Central and the other one, I'm a little bit more impressed with the Platt Tech one. I know Bridgeport Central is struggling, but as a tech school,
an actual tech school.
an actual tech school doing that job, that's not bad. Northwest United, look, they are a tech school league program, but
they're a Pequot team
for a name only. They're mostly a Pequot team. Yeah, you could pretty much say. But hey, listen, that's a great effort from them for after they lost against a general population school last year in the in the quarterfinals. But and then the SCC, man, oh jeez, 1-6, man, guys, show up. Jeez,
yeah. Well, the thing I'll say, so out of the 7 games the CCC played, only 4 of them were Tier 1 or Tier 2 teams in the CCC. Only 2 Tier 1 schools played this week in an alliance game. So I'm holding off my judgment on the CCC until week 3. There's some big week 3 matchups. But I will say, I don't care what the overall records were. The FCIAC had an awful week. The state is on notice here. Big bad FCIAC. You guys, luckily Greenwich salvaged it for you because it was a bad week for the FCIAC. I mean, pitiful.
That's what you really think.
If I'd give them an F if we had grades. I'd give them an F for their performance this week. Bad. It was bad all around. SCC, hats off. They won the big games. They won the teams that, those teams that won, those are the ones that are going to be playing in December. We're going to get it again in the playoffs potentially. So maybe the FCIAC could do a little better. But the FCIAC has a big showing coming up against the CCC in 2 weeks. So let's see if they could rebound. But I wouldn't be happy if I was the FCIAC. I don't care if they were 8-8.
Right. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I thought New Canaan, it took a while for New Canaan to get off the bus. But I mean, they were down in Shelton territory, came away with no points. Began the second half, same thing, came away with no points. They punched, they get a field goal there. That game's tied late. So I guess you give New Canaan a little bit of a break. They got to figure out that offense, though, because right now it's Alex Benevento until further notice. I mean, if they find a way to stop him, good luck. But down the road, I think they're going to be okay when they play other teams. But, Shelton, Shelton likes to give their coach a little bit of a scare now and then. So we talked about their schedule, Pete, last week. And, I asked Mike DeFelice about the schedule. Hey, is your heart going to be able to take another 9 games like this? And here's what he said.
My heart might not, but I think this team does. We've been preaching all preseason, guys, a week at a time. Because if there's, ever a schedule that you can't look ahead, when I was listening to you, and I do read your previews, by the way. When I was listening to you and Pete, and you put up that graphic, comparing the schedules, and that was eye-opening, and there is. I mean, all those teams are great teams. All those SEC teams are good. The out-of-league teams we're playing are good. So, I mean, we can't take a week off. You can't take a nap, or you're going to be on the other side of this very easily.
We've had Mike on this show. We've interviewed Mike a handful of times. I love when, you give them, big ups. He gets, not, nervous about it, but he's he doesn't want to, jinx anything, which I just find really, really, really funny.
Shelton, by the way, we should mention, it's been, like it was mentioned last week, it's been 20 years since they last won a state championship. So is this the year to do it? They're going to have to,
they got to survive.
Yeah, you got to, if they can get in, man, look out. They get in healthy, I should say. Look out. 7-3. I don't expect them to win all games. I just, but it could be in all, if they get it together and they play well. I mean, they could be something special. I love Kinnick at quarterback. He's got a brother, Ryan Kinnick, who played well. Obviously, Dodge Licko is just a monster. Good looking play. Had a big run late in the game to maybe set up some. I think they didn't score there, but big run late in the game when they needed him. The line's been playing well. They always have linemen. And then obviously Tinney is just, he's a player, and that battle they had with Benevento was just outstanding. It was like mid-season form, late season form between the two of them. And I thought it was funny how Tinney didn't even know who he was. But then at the end of the game, they're hugging each other. Yeah, good game. They give it, fist bumps and
Well, it's like DeFelice said. It was a boxing match.
It was. Yeah, it was just like that. It was a mano a mano, throwing haymakers left and right. I mean, I was falling asleep, but it turned out to be. If it wasn't a great game to start, it eventually turned out to be a great finish. And that play he made on Benevento was just outstanding. So, we're looking forward for both guys. Big years ahead for them. So, Pete, Just a quick note before we jump into the top 10, a little shout out to all of the first-year coaches who are in new programs. We got 10 of them, got their first victories. Mike Forget at Norwalk. Dan Farina, Newtown. They built a lead against St. Joseph, had to stop like everyone else did. Come back on a Saturday night. We tried to get up there, but we were just exhausted. But Newtown and St. Joseph came back on them. Took a late lead. I think it was 23-22, and then they kicked the field goal late. McManus with the field goal late to give Dan Farina his first win. That was big. Bobby Sanchez over at New London. Windsor Locks. Foreign, Garrett Walker with their win. Guilford, Brian White. Weston, Aquavita with Newington with a thriller. Beating West Hill on a last-second touchdown pass. Check this out. Ryan Bejunes with the touchdown catch. I hope I still said his name right. From Enzo Corvino with Newington, the new look Newington squad, and Team Aquavita winning their first game down there in Stanford. Cheney Tech, that's Tony Benino and his guys. And then Harding with the big win. Arte Corbett with the big win in his first game as Harding coach. We talked about them. They had a little bit of turmoil last beginning of camp when Eddie Santiago was let go, and they had to scramble to find a coach. So Arte Corbett, but great job by him to give the Presidents their first big win. So that congratulations to those coaches, and there are plenty more, I'm sure, to come. And for the guys who didn't get their first wins in their first games, you get them next time. That's a short turnaround this week for most of you. So, Pete, let's go look at the top 10 and kind of see what else happened here. See the carnage that is wrought from this crazy week. We're going to start at the bottom here with number 10, Newtown. We just talked about them. Came down to a last-second field goal the day after they started by McManus. Dan Farina getting his first win as coach. Newtown in at number 10, 1-0. Number 9 is Cheshire. Matt Jeffrey went off. Had a lot of help from his guys. Maybe we underestimated the Rams a little bit. 39-10 over Ridgefield. That's a pretty good win for them to start the season off. They play Shelton this Thursday. You talk about Shelton's schedule. My goodness, a quick turnaround for the Gales. They got to face Matt Jeffrey. Number 8 is New Canaan. Lost, but lots to like. I thought the defense, played pretty well considering. They only gave up, they had a kickoff return touchdown to start. They didn't give a lot of points. So I think New Canaan's defense is a little bit better than you might think. But so New Canaan plays Ward on Thursday. Number 7, Ansonia got off on the right foot. No troubles this time against Gilbert, Northwestern, Housatonic, 45-13. And Mackay Ingram had just a great game for them to start the Chargers up. They play Seymour, which is supposed to be pretty good this year. An interesting game on Friday, one of the only probably good games on Friday. So the Chargers face Seymour. That's number 7, Ansonia. Number 6, Fairfield Prep doesn't fall far because, listen, they showed up against Greenwich. Again, like New Canaan, took them a little time, but I think they're going to be fine when it's all said and done. Number 5, West Haven. Might be a little low there, Pete, after their performance, but we'll take a look at some of the teams ahead of them. But 1-0, we talked about them. Cam Kemp played great in his debut, and Coe and Conlin and Armani Reed. Alyssa, they look great. They are going to play Law. Good luck, Law facing that crew on Thursday. Number 4, Shelton. We talked about them. They play Cheshire. Number 3, Maloney, which needed a couple days to beat East Hartford. 55-38, though. Pretty good performance. Kelly had a great game. They have 4 touchdowns or something thereabouts. And so they're off to a really good start. They play Newington coming off that big win over West Hill. Number 2 is Southington. On Thursday night, they beat up on New Britain 44-23. De Benedetto, the quarterback, had 4 touchdown passes. And they didn't have Evan Anderson, so not a bad start to their season. And then finally, of course, we talk about number 1, Greenwich. 1-0, 23, all but 2 votes now. I think 23 votes. The big question coming out of the top 10, Pete, is where is Windsor?
11.
Just
9 points out of a top 10 spot. I hope all our complaining on the podcast, kind of prompted people to vote for them. They're good. They won this week. But that week 3 date is circled for me when they play New Canaan. So We'll see.
We had someone immediately jump into our DM saying, y'all still sleeping on us.
Yeah, except for the 2 people that run that account were 2 of like the 3 people that voted for Windsor.
Listen, they're getting some love here, but they still have a first place vote too. So hey, I'm glad to help somebody out here. I mean, it's like I'm glad we're not just screaming into the void. But if you look at it, you had six Pete, top 10 teams from the preseason, all lost. 2 managed to stay in there. That's New Canaan and Prep. The ones that fell out were North Haven, which didn't play, forfeit loss, but I didn't vote them this week. I completely dropped them. Until I see otherwise, I will continue to keep them out of the poll until they get back on the field and play a few games. But like I said with that, Staples fell out after losing to West Haven. Notre Dame, West Haven. We were screaming. I mean, even the Notre Dame West Haven guys know that it's a whole different team and they got some work to do. And they went up to New Milford and they got beat 14-0. So maybe a lot more work than we thought. But they were number 9 last week. They fall out. So that's good to see that correction made. And then St. Joseph, which was number 10, just gets replaced by Newtown. But Pete, anything else with this top 10 poll? I mean, it's fixed a little bit. But who else is being overlooked?
Masuk, Hamden. Yep. I moved Hamden into my top 10 this past week. I moved Masuk into my top 10. Shocked to see them not in there. Now, Hamden should be in the top 10. Like I said, Trumbull wasn't in the top 10. We had them in our top 10, but they weren't in the overall top 10. So maybe they didn't get enough love for that win, even though it was a great win. Masuk's a little bit more surprising because, everyone loves Killingly, and Killingly was getting a lot of love in the poll, and Masuk kind of handled them. So I thought Masuk might get a little bit more love. Holy Cross only getting, 30 points or whatever. I honestly think they might be the second best team in the NVL. So if you're voting Ansonia, you clearly are putting value in the NVL schedule. I'm not, but clearly people are. So why isn't Holy Cross getting a little bit more love? It's definitely one that stood out to me. And I like Wilton. I vote Wilton. I think I voted Wilton the last 2 weeks. I think they're really good. They only have 25 points.
I actually got a chance to see Wilton against the end of their Berlin game, which got put Sunday. The Giants were playing later. I won't talk about them, but they were playing later. and so I'm like, let me just squeeze in it's only a half hour away from where I live, not even 20 minutes tops from where I live in Hamden, and I saw them put the finishing touches on a 34-0 victory over Berlin, a Berlin team that went to the final last year, and they got some dudes. They have some of our guys, including JoJo Morales, who's come back. It was good to see him back in a Berlin uniform after a year off. He was up in Canterbury or thereabouts somewhere. And he was back, and they're good, but they're not Wilton good. And Wilton, they were pretty fired up. So I'm anxious to see how they got. Obviously, they got Norwalk this week, and then they got some big ones after that. The other team, it's Hamden. I thought I have them on high. I actually voted Darien in my top 15. I think they're going to be okay, but other than that, not bad. We did get some news today. We've been hearing about that the coaches poll is back, Pete. It was formerly at the Day of New London when Ned Griffin was there. Ned is no longer with the Day of New London, but he has apparently now gone to the dark side and brought the coaches poll with him to the Hartford Current, which used to run the coaches poll way back when Bo Kalinsky was here, I believe. The great Bo Kalinsky, who's died now it's 21 years since he's been gone. But anyway, let's just quickly give you an idea of what the coaches poll looks like. Greenwich is number 1. West Haven, number 2. Maybe they give them a little respect. Number 3, Shelton. Number 4, Southington. Then number 5, Maloney. There's Masuk sitting at number 6. Little love there. Followed by Newtown at number 7. And, there's your boys, Windsor. Windsor gets in. The coaches are always there. If we overlook a team, the coaches poll is always there to kind of twist the knife into us a little bit. But 8 Windsor, 9 Cheshire, same as us, and then 10 Ansonia. Ansonia not as high there in the coaches poll. And there it is, the Hartford Current coaches poll, now under new management, as Ned Griffin likes to say. So there it is, Pete. We have anything else before we move on to our our final segments of the podcast, Pete?
I'm happy that the coaches poll is back. I'm happy that Ned is back in the mix in high school football. High school football is better with Ned Griffin in the mix, and I'm just very happy. Ned is a friend. Ned is a friend for the both of us. And we're just really happy to see Ned, back mixing it up on Twitter. And hopefully we get more from Ned this year as well.
Ned loves to tell us all the mistakes we make in our stories.
He's usually right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. I gotta fix this. So you got this in the poll. Yep. Yeah. Ned, we should give him a stipend as an editor. We love Ned. And good. But the fact that he's a lot of coaches reached out to us and said we got to hire Ned. And, unfortunately, I don't make the hiring decisions on here, but certainly, if we could, we would love to have Ned aboard here at GameTimeCT. I mean, he's a different style than me, but he's been doing it longer, and he does a very unique job covering high school football, and he's one of the best. So we wish him well, and we're anxious to see how this coaches poll goes. But all right, Pete. So here I'm going to bring back a little thing I used to do at the when I was running the high school football blog at Connecticut Post all those years ago. And usually I did this after week one. I usually did this, and it was called I Learned. What did I learn from week one? What did you learn? It's a education based podcast, Pete, to coin a phrase, and so we take our education seriously here. So, Pete, we're going to start off with you. We're going to go back and forth. Pete, from week one, what did you learn? And you have to start off by saying, I learned.
I learned how to pronounce the names of Marcus Campbell and John Insignia.
Oh, almost.
I get it wrong again?
Almost. Pronounce it with me. Insinga.
Insinga. Yeah.
Insinga.
Insinga. There you go. That's it. Now you know. And knowing's half the battle.
Yeah.
That's a deep cut for, all you Gen Xers out there. Jeez. Anyway. All right. Pete, I learned that the trainer, how about this, is the one who gets to call the games when they see a lightning delay. When you see lightning in the sky, the trainer is the one that alerts the officials. And they call the game. They're the ones who call the game. I did not know that. And it happened at Woodland Holy Cross, night one. We could see the fire, the lightning out in the distance. And sure enough, the trainer walked out. She informed the officials, and we had a 30-minute delay. After that, there was no more lightning, and away we went. I did not know that. I thought that was an official thing. But here's another thing I learned from the state interpreter, Bill Riccio, who sent an email out after all these games were postponed, who said, this is another thing I learned, who said that, there's a difference between lightning delays where you see the lightning and then you hear the thunder. Lightning, it's like AC/DC. You see the lightning, you hear the thunder, and then heat lightning, which appears off in the distance. Now we're sitting there with Chris Daly, the Woodland AD, and as the we could see the lightning way, way off in the distance. And I'm like, there must be a storm coming. So I pulled up my phone, and I could see the storm front was even in New York State. So it was a good hour away, at least, maybe a little less. But I told them, oh my God, they're going to postpone this game. There's no storm. So what Bill Riccio said to everybody is, if it's obvious that it's heat lightning, and by that you don't hear any thunder, then you shouldn't be calling the game. You need to use a little bit of discretion. Obviously, you want to err on the side of caution, he said. But if you look at a Doppler radar, you can see that it was in New York, and it was off. You could say, well, that's heat lightning. I don't hear any thunder. So you can reasonably surmise that it is not an imminent danger, and you're able to continue the game. Now, if you see lightning and you hear the thunder, that is when you have to go in for 30 minutes until it calms down. So that is what I learned this week, Pete.
Cool. That's a good one. All right, Sean. I learned that a freshman can make an impact very early in the season while watching Deshaun Graves go for 5 catches for 105 yards and all 3 touchdowns in Holy Cross's 20-14 overtime win against Woodland. And I asked Coach GM Petruzzi, I go, where were you hiding this kid? And he goes, "We weren't."
Okay, well, apparently he's a star, and he was a star of the Pop Warners. He's apparently started at the Junior Hawks, which is the prospect. So he was like in line to go to Woodland or something. I don't know what the deal was there, but he played for Waterbury's Pop Warner, and next thing you know, he's at Holy Cross. So, and then Pete afterwards, some great questions. The kid goes off 3 touchdowns. And afterwards, Pete's like, so, this was his first varsity game. So Pete, with the big question, here's the kid's answer.
I mean, to come out here in your first varsity game and put up the performance that you did, how good were you feeling heading into this game?
I was feeling confident, knowing that my speed is able to get past all these bigger dudes that are bigger than me. I was just using that for my advantage.
Did it take you a couple plays to kind of get used to varsity, or did it just come quick?
It just took me one tackle to get used to it.
And Andy, how old are you now?
14.
When did you turn 15?
July.
I just turned 14.
I'm old.
Hey, man. So what's your opinion now on varsity football? It's pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
So that's confidence, man. He once he got that first hit, man, he was raring to go, and he went off. And Woodland comes back, does a nice job getting that game tied up because they were falling asleep too. I think they're going to be well. They're going to do well down the road. But Holy Cross pulls it out there in the end, and a nice job there, and what a future ahead for the freshmen. Pete, I learned that you don't need your head coach for the entire preseason to win your first game if your team is a veteran group with lots of great players. And obviously, we talked about Masuk. Jason Champagne went off up there against Killingly, which has been to the final every year. Seems like, and Masuk with a big mission statement over at Killingly, and I mean, as far as we know, I'm pretty sure that Steve Christie has not coached the team at all this preseason, and for Masuk to go up there with Brian Halpin, the former Trumbull assistant, going up there and winning that game, that's a pretty good job by Masuk. That's a long trip. You know what? It's almost a good thing that Masuk played there, if you think about it, because their game didn't get postponed, right? That was way out east. And all the storms are kind of sweeping southwest to northeast, and they didn't have any problems. So there you go.
Sean, I learned that having a returning all-state quarterback doesn't result in wins when your defense and special teams allows 3 touchdowns of over 70 yards.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams learned that. And they didn't even have the quarterback. A lot of teams learned that, special teams.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing I learned. I learned that special teams play is crucial in overcoming a lot of the week 1 craziness that happens. I mean, week 1 is the thing is this week where everything happens that, and what can go wrong, it's Murphy's Law. What can go wrong goes wrong. Usually, because it's kids' first games. You've been practicing, not live until, this is your first time out. And, it's a whole different thing. And the speed is different. And lots of kids making adjustments and coaches. Everyone's got to shake the rust off a bit. And special teams, man, like we saw at Shelton and New Canaan, special teams played a huge role in that game. Greenwich, huge role in that game. Even West Haven, a huge role in that game. So, if you had some special teams play, if you can win those battles, man, you're a good shot to win week 1.
All right, Sean, I learned that I should stop doubting West Haven, even though I'm probably still going to doubt them, but they're good. Armani Reed, Cameron Kemp, DeMarco, Edie, Aiden Coe, and Nick Conlon can go the distance every time they touch the ball.
That's a good thing to learn. You know what I learned, Pete? I learned that no matter how many running backs Hamden loses, you lose Sean Mills, you lose Cameron Kemp, there's always somebody back there ready to take over. There's somebody ready to take over. That's what happened with Kemp last year when Mills got hurt against Fairfield Prep. And in the season opener, a week before losing Kemp to West Haven, we saw Charles Holden III lead a offensive juggernaut that rushed for 350 yards against Trumbull, a team that we have marked for maybe at least play for a state championship in Double L. Hamden rolling over the Eagles, who they needed it too, because Trumbull's guys, their 2 backs, were ringing up the scoreboard as well. And it was funny, Pete, that the team that didn't have the name running backs on its roster in that game was the team that won. Big win by Hamden, and again, the beat goes on. You lose one guy, there's another guy ready to step up, and so I actually felt pretty good for Hamden. I'm not going to lie. So,
all right. I have one more thing that I learned.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sean, I learned that safety concerns don't really apply when it looks like Rockville is now going to be playing 10 games in 62 days with this latest postponement. Granby's also going to play 10 games in 65 days, but their final game comes on November 17th, the week before Thanksgiving, while Rockville will play the week of the 17th and Thanksgiving and potentially a playoff game all in a short period of time. So safety concerns clearly do not apply to this matter.
Interesting. Well, that's an ongoing thing, I think. It used to be, and again, I don't know all the details of all these postponements and what everyone needs to figure out. But it used to be you tried as much as heck to get the previous week game in. If there was a rain delay, they would always go Monday, and then they would push the games up beyond that. Maybe you push it to the following. These games are Thursday. I get it. It's a holiday, but it's a Jewish holiday. Number one, if you don't have any Jewish kids on your team, what's the difference? Or the other two teams. And then the other thing is you can try and push that to Saturday. You can't do it. Try Sunday, and you don't like to, but it used to be you just got these games in, and now we're like pushing it to bye weeks and stuff. Well, that's the problem. Once you run out of bye weeks, man, and we also have a hurricane coming.
Rockville's going to run out of bye weeks next week because week 2 is their bye week, and this Granby game's probably going to go to week 6, their other bye week. But I just want to know, where are the adults in the room? Who's making these decisions? I've reached out. I've asked. I'm trying to figure out who is the adult in the room making this decision, because it's a pretty poor one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not without precedent. I'll say that much, because remember in COVID 2 years ago, teams were using the bye week up, and then they were moving off, and they got him in. I'll give them that credit for that. They got him in, but yeah. At the end of the season, it gets a little rough. You don't want to give those games up. But you see a lot of these teams pushing their games to that week before Thanksgiving, and I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, it's tough, especially if you go to the state final. You're playing a lot of games in a row, and that 2 week stretch there is, it's always been a little sketchy. So I mean, unless we get rid of Thanksgiving or we change it up, I don't know how we change that. I mean, something's got to give, I think. So an interesting point you bring up, and hope these teams can get it in, but usually we try to get it in as quick as possible. I don't remember, I guess since COVID happened, we just go, let's go to the bye week. Don't worry about it. So I don't know. Usually you just adjust it, but hey, I don't run the show here, and I'm interested to see what happens with all these. But a good, fair point from Pete. Pete, that's a great thing we learned this week. So, it's been a good week 1. I thought there's a lot we learned, and we're going to learn a lot more in week 2, but maybe not as much as we're going to learn in week 3. So that'll be fun. Are we done?
Yeah, we're done.
Is there anything else we need to talk about?
Nope. Okay. We hit everything within an hour.
Yeah, it's not bad. Okay. Before we sign off here for the week, we go to our picks podcast, which will be dropped a little bit later after this. This is also week 1 for a lot of the Connecticut High School Prep school teams, and there is a huge game on Friday. We talk about the CIAC kind of having a down week. Ansonia Seymour, Shelton, Cheshire is a big one on Thursday. But up at Cheshire Academy on Friday night, you have Brunswick and Cheshire Academy with kids who are going to FBS schools in the future, just littering the field up there in a massive game between two pretty big programs. Bill Mella takes over now at Cheshire Academy. Wayne McGill kind of brings his guys up from Brunswick, and a lot of Connecticut guys starring in this game. On Cheshire Academy's side, you have Elijah Newby, who's committed to University of Southern California. You also have Dante Reno, the son of Yale coach Tony Reno, transferring from Loomis Chaffee. He's a Mass kid, but he's now with the Cats. They're playing also Elijah Cromartie from Brunswick, the quarterback, the former Windsor quarterback. You have Jaden LaFontaine, the Stratford kid who's now at Brunswick. He's a University of Kentucky commit. You have Matty Augustine from Greenwich. He's got 26 offers, including Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, Florida State. He's a great lineman for them. And then you also have our guy, Ethan Long, another Stratford kid who used to play at St. Joseph. He's got offers from Notre Dame and Ohio State and Michigan. Just stars are going to be out, and every year it seems like the prep schools have a big game. Week 1 last year it was Avon Farms and Loomis. This year is a big game over at Cheshire Academy with Brunswick in the Northeast Prep Conference. So be there or be square on Friday night. Pete, that is week 1 in the books for the CIAC. We go on to week 2. I'm exhausted. It's been kind of a wild week. No guests this week. We're going to start bringing on guests once things calm down a little bit. We get our footing. But, so far so good. I don't know how you feel, but woof. I could use a little bit of a break, but we don't get one. We're going straight into Thursday, Pete.
Yeah, we hit the ground running again on Thursday, so it should be a good week. Hopefully the weather cooperates, and hopefully we'll be back here with some good stories.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. I don't know what's the story with this Hurricane Lee that might be making its way up here? God, I hope not. It's been a while since we had a big one here. We might be due, but hey, there's nothing we can do about the weather. Hopefully, once we get past this next week, we'll be in good shape for the rest of the year with no more drama. Please, I don't need any more drama. But anyway, so with that said, another podcast is in the books. For Pete Paguaga, I'm from Patrick Bowley. This has been the Meat Grinder on GameTimeCT.
Love you all.